Continuing our series on the road, pages 131 to 144. At the edge of a small town, they sat in the cab of a truck to rest, staring out a glass washed clean by recent rains, a light dusting of ash, exhausted. By the roadside stood another sign that warned of death, the letters faded with the years. He almost smiled. "Can you read that?" he said. "Yes." "Don't pay any attention. There's no one here." "Are they dead?" "I think so." "I wish that little boy was with us." "Let's go," he said. Rich dreams now which he was loath to wake from, things no longer known in the world. The cold drove him forth to mend the fire. Memory of her crossing the lawn toward the house in the early morning in a thin rose gown that clung to her breasts. He thought each memory recalled must do some violence to its origins, as in a party game. Say the word, pass it on, so be sparing. What you alter in the remembering has yet a reality, known or not. They walked through the streets wrapped in the filthy blankets. He held the pistol at his waist and held the boy by the hand. At the farther edge of the town, they came upon a solitary house in a field, and they crossed and entered and walked through the rooms. They came upon themselves in a mirror, and he almost raised the pistol. "It's us, Papa," the boy whispered. "It's us." He stood in the back door and looked out at the fields and the road beyond and the bleak country beyond the road. On the patio was a barbecue pit made from a 55-gallon drum slid endways with a torch and set in a welded iron frame. A few dead trees in the backyard, a fence, a metal tool shed. He shrugged off the blanket and wrapped it around the boy's shoulder. "I want you to wait here." "I want to go with you." "I'm only going over there to take a look. Just sit here. You'll be able to see me the whole time. I promise." He crossed the yard and pushed open the door, still holding the gun. It was a sort of garden shed. Dirt floor, metal shelves with some plastic flower pots, everything covered with ash. There were garden tools standing in the corner, a lawnmower, a wooden bench under the window, and beside it a metal cabinet. He opened the cabinet. Old catalogs, packets of seeds, begonia, morning glory. He stuck them in his pocket. For what? On the top shelf were 2 cans of motor oil, and he put the pistol in his belt and he reached and got them and set them on the bench. They were very old, made of cardboard with metal end caps. The oil had soaked through the cardboard, but still they seemed full. He stepped back and looked out the door. The boy was sitting on the back steps of the house wrapped in the blankets watching him. When he turned, he saw a gas can in the corner behind the door. He knew it couldn't have gas in it yet when he couldn't have gas in it, yet when he tilted it with his foot and let it fall back again, there was a gentle slosh. He picked it up and carried it to the bench and tried to unscrew the cap, but he could not. He got the pliers out of his coat pocket and extended the jaws and tried it. It would just fit, and he twisted off the cap and laid it on the bench and sniffed the can. Rank odor, years old, but it was gasoline and it would burn. He screwed the cap back on and put the pliers in his pocket. He looked around for some smaller container, but there wasn't one. He shouldn't have thrown away the bottle. Check the house. Crossing the grass, he felt half faint and he had to stop. He wondered if it was from smelling the gasoline. The boy was watching him. How many days to death? 10? Not so many more than that. He couldn't think. Why had he stopped? He turned and looked down at the grass. He walked back, testing the ground with his feet. He stopped and turned again. Then he went back to the shed. He'd returned with a garden spade, and in the place where he'd stood, he chucked the blade into the ground. It sank to half its length and stopped with a hollow wooden sound. He began to shovel away the dirt. Slow going. God, he was tired. He leaned on the spade. He raised his head and looked at the boy. The boy sat as before. He bent to his work again. Before long, he was resting between each shovelful. What he finally unburied was a piece of plywood covered with roofing felt. He shoveled out along the edges. It was a door, perhaps 3 feet by 6. At one end was a hasp with a padlock taped up in a plastic bag. He rested, holding on to the handle of the spade, his forehead in the crook of his arm. When he looked up again, the boy was standing in the yard just a few feet from him. He was very scared. "Don't open it, Papa," he whispered. "It's okay." "Please, Papa, please." "It's okay." "No, it's not." He had his fists clutched at his chest and he was bobbing up and down with fear. The man dropped the shovel and put his arms around him. "Come on," he said. "Let's just go sit on the porch and rest a while." "Then can we go?" "Let's just sit for a while." "Okay." They sat wrapped in the blankets and looked out at the yard. They sat for a long time. He tried to explain to the boy that there was no one buried in the yard, but the boy just started crying. After a while, he even thought that maybe the child was right. "Let's just sit," he said. "We won't even talk." "Okay." They walked through the house again. He found a beer bottle and an old rag of curtain, and he tore an edge from the cloth and stuffed it down the neck of the bottle with a coat hanger. "It's our new lamp," he said. "How can we light it?" "I found some gasoline in the shed, and some oil. I'll show you." "Okay." "Come on," the man said. "Everything's okay. I promise." But when he bent to see into the boy's face under the hood of the blanket, he very much feared that something was gone that could not be put right again. They went out and crossed the yard to the shed. He set the bottle on the bench, and he took a screwdriver and punched a hole in one of the cans of oil, and then punched a smaller one to help it drain. He pulled the wick out of the bottle, poured the bottle about half full, old straight-weight oil thick and gelled with the cold, and a long time pouring. He twisted the cap off the gas can, and he made a small paper spill from one of the seed packets and poured gas into the bottle and put his thumb over the mouth and shook it. Then he poured some out into a clay dish and took the rag and stuffed it back into the bottle with the screwdriver. He took a piece of flint from his pocket, got the pair of pliers, and struck the flint against the serrated jaw. He tried it a couple of times, and then he stopped and poured more gasoline into the dish. "This may flare up," he said. The boy nodded. He raked sparks into the dish, and it bloomed into flame with a low whoosh. He reached and got the bottle, tilted it, lit the wick, and blew out the flame in the dish and handed the smoking bottle to the boy. "Here," he said. "Take it." "What are we going to do?" "Hold your hand in front of the flame. Don't let it go out." He rose and took the pistol from his belt. "This door looks like the other door," he said, "but it's not. I know you're scared. That's okay. I think there may be things in there and we have to take a look. There's no place else to go. This is it. I want you to help me. If you don't want to hold the lamp, you'll have to take the pistol." "I'll hold the lamp." "Okay. This is what good guys do. They keep trying. They don't give up." "Okay." He led the boy out into the yard, trailing the black smoke from the lamp. He put the pistol in his belt and picked up the spade and began to chop the hasp out of the plywood. He wedged the corner of the blade under it and pried it up, and then knelt and took hold of the lock and twisted the whole thing loose and pitched it onto the grass. He pried the blade under the door, got his fingers under it, and then stood and raised it up. Dirt went rattling down the boards. He looked at the boy. "Are you all right?" he said. The boy nodded mutely, holding the lamp in front of him. The man swung the door over and let it fall on the grass. Rough stairs carpentered out of 2x10s leading down into the darkness. He reached and took the lamp from the boy. He started to descend the stairs, but then he turned and leaned and kissed the child on the forehead. The bunker was walled with concrete block. The poured concrete floor laid over with kitchen tile. There were a couple of iron cots with bare springs, one against either wall, the mattress pads rolled up at the foot of them in army fashion. He turned and looked at the boy crouched above him, blinking in the smoke rising from the lamp. And then he descended to the lower steps and sat and held the lamp out. "Oh my God," he whispered. "Oh my God." "What is it, Papa?" "Come down. My God, come down." Crate upon crate of canned goods. Tomatoes, peaches, beans, apricots, canned hams, corned beef, hundreds of gallons of water in 10-gallon plastic jerry jugs, paper towels, toilet paper, paper plates, plastic trash bags stuffed with blankets. He held his forehead in his hand. "Oh my God," he said. Then he looked back at the boy. "It's all right," he said. "Come down." "Papa?" Come down and see." He stood the lamp on the step and went up and took the boy by the hand. "Come on," he said. "It's all right." "What did you find?" "I found everything. Everything. Wait till you see." He led him down the stairs and picked up the bottle and held the flame aloft. "Can you see?" he said. "Can you see?" "What is all this stuff, Papa?" "It's food. Can you read it?" "Pears. That says pears." Yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does." There was just headroom for him to stand. He ducked under a lantern with a green metal shade hanging from a hook. He held the boy by the hand, and they went along the rows of stenciled cartons. Chili, corn, stew, soup, spaghetti sauce. The richness of a vanished world. "Why is this here?" the boy said. "Is it real?" "Oh, yes, it's real." He pulled one of the boxes down and clawed it open and held up a can of peaches. "It's here because someone thought it might be needed." "But they didn't get to use it." "No, they didn't." "They died." "Yes." "Is it okay for us to take it?" "Yeah, it is. They would want us to, just like we would want them to." "They were the good guys?" "Yes, they were." "Like us?" "Like us, yeah." "So it's okay?" "Yes, it's okay." There were knives and plastic utensils and silverware and kitchen tools in a plastic box, a can opener. There were electric torches that didn't work. He found a box of batteries and dry cells and went through them, mostly corroded and leaking in acid goo, but some of them looked okay. He finally got one of the lanterns to work, and he set it on the table and blew out the smoky flame of the lamp. He tore a flap from the open cardboard box and chased out the smoke with it, and then he climbed up and lowered the trapdoor and turned and looked at the boy. "What would you like for supper?" he said. "Pears." "Good choice. Pears it is." He took 2 paperware bowls from a stack of them, wrapped in plastic, and he set them out on the table. He unrolled the mattress pads and the bunks for them to sit on, and he opened the carton of pears and took out a can, set it on the table, and clamped the lid with a can opener and began to turn the wheel. He looked at the boy. The boy was sitting quietly on the bunk, still wrapped in the blanket, watching. The man thought he probably had not committed fully to any. The man thought he had probably not fully committed himself to any of this. You could wake in the dark, wet woods any time. "These would be the best pears you ever tasted," he said. "The best. Just you wait." They sat side by side and ate a can of pears. Then they ate a can of peaches. They licked the spoons and tipped the bowls and drank the rich, sweet syrup. They looked at each other. "One more? I don't want you to get sick." "I won't get sick." "You haven't eaten in a long time." "I know." "Okay." He put the boy to bed in the bunk and smoothed his filthy hair on the pillow and covered him with blankets. When he climbed up and lifted the door, it was almost dark out. He went to the garage and got the knapsack and came back and took a last look around. And they went down the steps and pulled the door shut and jammed one of the handles of the pliers through the heavy inside hasp. The electric lantern was already beginning to dim, and he looked through the stores until he found some cases of white gas in the gallon cans. He got one of the cans out, set it on the table, unscrewed the cap, and punched out the metal seal with a screwdriver. Then he took down the lamp from the hook overhead and filled it. He'd already found a plastic box of butane lighters, and he lit the lamp with one of them and adjusted the flame and hung it back up. Then he just sat on the bunk. While the boy slept, he began to go methodically through the stores: clothes, sweaters, socks, a stainless steel basin, and sponges and bars of soap, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. In the bottom of a big plastic jar of bolts and screws and miscellaneous hardware, he found a double handful of gold Krugerrands in a cloth sack. He dumped them out and kneaded them in his hand and looked at them, then scooped them back into the jar along with the hardware and put the jar back on the shelf. He sorted through everything, shifting boxes and crates from one side of the room to the other. There was a small steel door that led into a second room where bottles of gas were stored. In the corner, a chemical toilet. There were vent pipes in the walls covered with wire mesh, and there were drains in the floor. It was getting warm in the bunker, and he'd taken off his coat. He went through everything. He found a box of 45 ACP cartridges and 3 boxes of 30-30 rifle shells. What he didn't find was a gun. He took the battery lantern and walked over the floor, and he had checked the walls for any hidden compartment. After a while, he just sat in the bunk eating a bar of chocolate. There was no gun, and there wasn't going to be one. When he woke, the gas lamp overhead was hissing softly. The bunker walls were there in the light, and the boxes and crates. He didn't know where he was. He was lying with his coat over him. He sat up and looked at the boy asleep on the other bunk. He'd taken off his shoes, but he didn't remember that either. And he got them from under the bunk and pulled them on and climbed the stairs and pulled the pliers from the hasp and lifted the door and peered out. Early morning. He looked at the house and he looked out toward the road, and he was about to lower the hatch again when he stopped. The vague gray light was in the west. They'd slept the night through and the day that followed. He lowered the door and secured it again and climbed back down and sat on the bunk. He looked around at the supplies. He'd been ready to die now. He'd been ready to die, and now he wasn't going to, and he had to think about that. Anyone could see the hatch lying in the yard, and they would know at once what it was. He had to think about what to do. This was not hiding in the woods. This was the last thing from that. Finally, he rose and went to the table and hooked up the little 2-burner gas stove and lit it, and got out a frying pan and a kettle and opened the plastic box of kitchen implements. What woke the boy was him grinding coffee in a small hand grinder. He sat up and stared all around. "Papa," he said. "Hi, are you hungry?" "I have to go to the bathroom. I have to pee." He pointed with the spatula toward the low steel door. He didn't know how to use the toilet, but they would use it anyway. They weren't going to be there that long, and he wasn't going to be opening and closing the hatch any more than they had to. The boy went past, his hair matted with sweat. "What is that?" he said. "Coffee, ham, biscuits." "Wow," the boy said.